I've got a basket. Let's harvest some dinner. It is a beautiful day today. I hope everyone is having as lovely of a day as it is here today in Virginia. We are having some beautiful fall-like weather today. I am loving it. And so with fall in mind, I want to make something sort of fall-esque for dinner tonight. And I thought I'd bring you guys along with me. But before we make dinner, I need to harvest some stuff from the garden. Lucy wants to say hi. Hi. Sit. Good girl. She's gonna be my gardening companion today. I always like having a little bit of company in the garden. This cattle panel right here may not look like it has very much food on it, considering all the vines look pretty much dead, but we're gonna harvest our supper primarily off of this one. This is where I've been growing my honey nut squashes. They are cute little tiny squashes. They taste like a butternut, but a little sweeter, I think. I had some of them for dinner the other night, and it was so good, I'm gonna make the same dinner again and share it with you guys. So the first thing we need for our harvest is all these squashes. So let's harvest some squash. I thought these vines would just break right off, but that was a little bit tougher than I thought it would be. Thankfully, I brought my scissors out though. Some of these are definitely a little bit wrinkly, so I doubt they would cure, but it doesn't really matter anyway because we're just gonna eat them tonight. I like to encourage people that your garden doesn't have to look perfect and completely weed-free in order to be productive. This harvest tonight is the perfect example of that. Several of these squash should have been harvested quite a while ago, but they're still going to be delicious, and we're going to make something really yummy with them a little later on in this video. There's something so rewarding about going out into your own garden, picking your food, and then cooking it for dinner. Tonight we are doing just that, and it's going from being on the vine to in our bellies in just about an hour. And that's something that I find really satisfying. And it just tastes so good. There truly is a level of freshness and flavor that you just can't get in the grocery store. If you know, then you know. Well, we were able to harvest a nice little basket full of these honey nut squashes. They're varying in sizes. This one's probably one of the bigger ones, and this is a smaller one. So there's quite a big size difference here between them. But I just went ahead and harvested all the ones I could find on the vines. There was definitely a couple on there I just went ahead and threw in the compost that had gone past its prime and were actually beginning to be a little squishy. Speaking of things that have gone past their prime, there are quite a few things in the garden that are ready to rip out, so we'll have to have a cleanup day here soon and start ripping some things out of the garden. But in the meantime, I'm pretty pleased with how many honey nut squashes we were able to harvest. We'll enjoy these for dinner tonight. But before we go inside to cook these up, I want to pick a few other things. I switched out my basket for a bowl, and let's see if there's any green beans on here that we can pick. So we have green beans planted all along these arches here. We've been picking them pretty much every night for supper. And I'm not sure how many's on here right now because I just picked a bunch last night, but let's see what we can find. Can't be dropping them. Ryan just commented the other night that he likes the flavor of these pole green beans even better than the bush green beans. So that's a pretty good recommendation coming from a guy who says food is just fuel. The green beans have definitely been slowing down in terms of production, but we're still able to harvest at least enough for dinner every night, which has been really handy. I must say, I like having a grocery store pretty much in my backyard. It's pretty convenient, especially when we live pretty far away from a grocery store. It's nice having these green beans growing up the arched cattle panels. It makes it pretty easy for picking. I've noticed these pole green beans will produce right on through our first hard frost. They continue to produce as long as you keep picking them. If you stop picking them, then they do slow down. Having flowers interwoven throughout the garden this year has been really enjoyable. I love the view. It gives you something pretty to look at while you're harvesting. That dahlia looks beautiful. We'll have to pick that later too. There's still a lot more green beans on the vines, but it's getting kind of late and I want to go ahead and get dinner in the oven. And what I picked is definitely enough for us for this evening's supper. There's just a couple more little things we need for our dinner, and then we'll go inside and get to cooking. I need some herbs for our supper as well. First, I'm going to cut some thyme. There's nothing like the smell of fresh herbs. They smell so nice. And we need some sage. We've got our harvest. Let's go inside and make dinner. All right, we're back inside now. For dinner tonight, pretty much everything is gonna be coming from the garden or from our property. I'm gonna be roasting up a chicken, and so I wanna get that into the oven first before we tackle the honey nut squash and the green beans. We've been raising and butchering our own chickens for a few years now. I have one that's been defrosting here in the fridge. I'm gonna get my oven preheated to 425 convection roast. This roasting pan is what we're gonna be cooking the chicken on today. It actually came with our oven. I used to always use a cast iron skillet for roasting up the chicken, but lately I've really been loving the effect that this pan gives. It separates into two different layers, and the grate keeps the chicken elevated off of its juices, so it gets nice and crispy all the way around, but yet still moist. And my eldest son in particular says he loves the chicken the best when it's cooked on this pan. So that's what we're gonna use tonight. I've got some lemon and olive oil, and we need salt, pepper, and garlic too. I've been trying my best to preserve as many herbs and things as I can when I get a free moment. This week, we actually just finished putting up all of our garlic. I have some cloves that are still whole, but we actually harvested garlic a little bit late this year, so I wasn't sure how it would keep. So I went ahead and just dehydrated it and made garlic powder. But I want to utilize my fresh cloves first before I use up the garlic powder. But I do need some salt and some pepper. Then I have some garlic cloves that aren't peeled yet from our garlic harvest this year that we'll use up. So we need our thyme and sage. I like to prep all my ingredients and seasonings that are gonna go on the chicken before I get the chicken out. That way I'm not getting chicken juices in random places. I'm gonna use about half of this thyme and sage on top of the chicken and use the rest of it to stuff the cavity of the chicken as well. I think whenever you can use fresh herbs from the garden, it really makes everything taste so much better. I definitely try to use them as much as I can during the summer months when everything's growing. Probably went a little overboard with the amount of thyme I picked. I have a lot of it out there, so might as well use it. So I just ripped some of the thyme leaves off, and I'm gonna give some of the sage and thyme just a rough chop so that we can put it on top of our chicken. Oh, I just heard that my oven is preheated. And that's good too, because I'm getting hungry and I need to get things going here. And then the lemon, I'm just gonna cut in half. I just put the chicken into the sink because I find that sometimes these vacuum sealed bags leak a little bit, and I didn't want chicken juices everywhere. I'm just gonna give it a little rinse. I find that one of the best tricks to making sure that your chicken has a nice crispy skin is to pat it dry before you put any seasonings or olive oil on it. I just rinsed this chicken, so I'm going to pat dry both sides. And I'm gonna put the breast sides up so that, oh, we've got a feather. I'm gonna put the breast sides up so that the skin gets the crispiest. I am definitely someone who falls into the camp of washing my hands about 6 or 7 times whenever I'm cooking raw chicken. Hey, better safe than sorry. I just like to pour a little bit of olive oil all over the top of the chicken, and then I just use my hands to rub it in all the nooks and crannies so that everything will get nice and crispy and that skin will taste really yummy once it's roasted in the oven. Once the olive oil is on the chicken, it gets really slippery. I've even had 1 or 2 chickens fly right off the pan before. It's like it was a bird or something. I'm putting the lemon, the garlic cloves in there whole, as well as all of those fresh herbs that we picked from the garden, the thyme and the sage. You probably definitely don't need this much garlic or thyme and sage, but since I have it, I was just gonna go ahead and use it. The house will be smelling amazing here in just a few minutes. These herbs are really aromatic and they just fill the whole house with a lovely fragrance. I just washed my hands, and so now we do salt and pepper and our herbs on top as well. I'm a big fan of fresh cracked pepper. The more the better, if you ask me. I'd like to put quite a lot on there. And then I always add extra fresh cracked pepper to my chicken too once it comes out of the oven, because that's just how much I like it. The kids don't like quite as much though, so I try not to go too overboard before I put it in the oven. Then the last step for our chicken is just to put those herbs on top that we already chopped up. The little bit of thyme and sage. I say a little bit, but I'm gonna put quite a lot on there because I chopped up way too much. But it'll taste so yummy. I really like using this oven in particular because it has a convection roast setting, which I think kind of gives it the texture of air frying. My name's Cara, if you're new here. I really do truly appreciate you guys watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already and like today's video. It does help out the algorithm. And sharing it and commenting as well also helps give our channel just a little bit extra boost. So if you feel led to do that, then we appreciate it. Thanks, guys. I'm not gonna cut up all these butternut squashes tonight, but I'm gonna do about 2 per person, so I'm gonna start by washing them because there is a little bit of dirt on them. I'm trying to wash these honey nut squashes pretty thoroughly because we are gonna be leaving the skins on them for this recipe and roasting them up in the oven that way. This particular honey nut squash variety that we're eating tonight, I believe the seed was purchased from Baker Creek or rareseeds.com. This seed we just direct sowed straight into the garden underneath the trellis that it was growing on. It grew pretty quickly and grew up it. The squash bugs did, however, kill off the vine fairly quickly once they discovered it. We do have some larger butternut squashes that we harvested that are curing. However, I really don't have too terribly many squashes curing this year for winter use. Unfortunately, squash bugs just kill my plants so quickly. If I didn't have to deal with squash bugs, I would definitely go all out and plant lots and lots of honey nut squash and butternut squash because we really enjoy them. For these honey nut squashes, I'm just going to cut them in half and scoop out the seeds. This squash is a little bit tough to cut through. However, it's not nearly as tough as butternut squash. Sometimes I can't even cut through a butternut squash on my own and I have to get Ryan to cut it for me. It looks basically just like a butternut squash on the inside, except a little bit smaller. You know what? I need to get a bowl to put the tops in here and the seeds for our compost. We try to compost what we can when we can because it's always great to have more of that golden dirt for the garden. I'm scooping these seeds straight into the same bowl and we'll take it out to the compost. I love whenever I can get volunteer plants in the garden, so the more seeds in the compost the better, as long as they're the good type of seeds and not weeds. We had a great butternut squash vine grow in our compost pile last year, and we harvested so many butternut squash off of that, it was wonderful. It's like getting free plants. I really think these honey nut squashes are so cute. The kids also think they're fun to get their own little personal size squash. The other night when I made them for dinner, they said they were using their spoons to dig, like they were digging in the dirt. This one's a little too far gone. I think I have plenty here, so we can put that one in the compost. That one's a little too far gone. I bought this olive oil sprayer the other day on Amazon. I'm really enjoying using this sprayer. It gives everything just a nice even coat versus trying to drizzle olive oil over everything. We're really letting the squash speak for itself tonight. Just a little bit of salt and pepper. Then we're also just going to sprinkle a little bit of brown sugar on each of these honey nut squashes. Like the name suggests, honey nut squashes already have a slightly sweet flavor to them, so you really don't need too much brown sugar. I'm just doing a light little sprinkle of brown sugar over the top of each one. And then we'll just put them in the oven. These squash are just going to go straight into the oven with the chicken. The chicken and the honey nut squashes are roasting away in the oven. So while those are cooking, let's go out to the garden and pick a few flowers. We have a lot of flowers growing throughout the garden. These dahlias caught my eye when we were picking green beans though, so I'm going to start with these. Those look so lovely. Aren't these dahlias so pretty? We have a lot of different types of flowers out there, But lately I've just been loving dahlias by themselves all along the windowsill in front of our kitchen sink. And it makes it really pretty just to have a beautiful view while you're washing dishes. I have some over here right now. A couple of them are definitely on their last leg. So let's swap those out for these. Yeah, some of these definitely need to go. I'm kind of a jar hoarder. I like to save any tiny, cute little jar that I can get my hands on. This was a baby food jar, for instance, and I just peel the label off of things, and then they make the perfect little flower vases, especially tiny ones like this, because the kids are always picking me flowers, and like kids do, they pick the stems really short instead of leaving enough stem for like a long vase like this one. So having little jars like this lying around are great for that. I also find that it works really well for windowsills too, because sometimes you just need a narrower base for the windowsill. This dahlia is facing straight down. It has quite the bend in the neck here, but it still looks pretty and it works for being up on the windowsill. I'm not super picky about my dahlias as long as they look pretty. Isn't that beautiful? I really love the cream color of this one. I didn't check the tag when I was out there, but I think this one's Cafe au lait. I think whenever you can make a task that you don't necessarily like, I don't necessarily like washing dishes, a little more enjoyable, then it goes by a lot faster. I'm trying to do my best to teach that to my kids too. For things like picking up toys, we sing a song or play a game to make it a little more enjoyable. To do for dinner prep tonight before the chicken and the butternut, I keep saying butternut squashes, they're honey nut squashes, very similar to a butternut squash, but it's honey nut squash, not butternut squash. While the chicken and the honey nut squashes are roasting in the oven, the last step to do is to prep the green beans. There's really nothing complicated about the green beans this evening. All we have to do is just take off the little end where it was attached to the vine, and then I'm simply going to steam these on the stove and then put a little bit of butter, salt, and pepper. That's it. Nothing fancy, just letting the green bean speak for itself. When you have a really fresh ingredient, you really don't have to do anything too fancy to it. Just simply letting the ingredient speak for itself is sometimes the best way. The honey nut squashes were just roasting with salt and pepper and a little bit of brown sugar. And the green beans, it's just gonna be water, salt, pepper, and a little bit of butter. Nothing overly complicated, just good high quality ingredients, done simply, taste the best. Now our kids have been raised with the garden so far, but they say that green beans and roasted chicken is their favorite meal, and so that makes me pretty happy as a mom. It's nice to know exactly where your food is coming from. It doesn't get much closer than just in your backyard. The chicken and squash are really making the whole house smell really good. It's almost done, so I'll show you guys here in a minute. To cook our green beans, I'm simply just going to steam them on the stove, just putting a little bit of water in the bottom of the pan and putting a lid on it, and then cooking it for just a few minutes on low heat. We like our green beans to still be a little bit firm, and then I'll add salt, pepper, and butter after they're done steaming. I just cooked these squash until they're soft and kind of like a mashed sweet potato consistency. The chicken, I have a meat thermometer and I've been periodically checking the chicken, And once it reached 165 degrees internal temperature inside the breast, I pulled it out of the oven. It smells so good. I really wish they would go ahead and hurry up and invent smell-o-vision. While dinner's hot, we're gonna go eat it. Thanks for watching. Bye, y'all.